You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast, season 3, episode 90, Jed Hoyer at the GM meetings, part 2. Don't forget, listen, download, review, and most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Follow on all the socials, Fly the W670 on Twitter, Instagram, Fly the W on Facebook. Of course, you can email Crawly and I, flythew670 at gmail.com. All right, Crawly, the winter meetings are wrapped up. And in our last episode, we discussed some of the audio clips from Jed Hoyer from the GM meetings on the current players on the roster and their roles moving forward. In this episode, we break down Jed's comments on players' injuries and the team's plan to address areas of need for the 2025 Cubs season.
Now, Dustin, another big story that comes out of here and a big story for the 2024 season were injuries, right? Why were they so bad with, why were they hit so hard with the injury bug? Was it conditioning? Was it bad luck? We know the organization let go of 2 strength and conditioning coaches, Keegan Knoll and Ryan Clausen. And when Jed was talking about the guys that were let go, of course, he's not going to say they did anything wrong, but I thought that was very interesting that they let 2 strength and conditioning coaches go, right?
Right. And there's got to be something there. You don't do that just to do it. So I wonder if that's if that's something that Craig Counsell is spearheading. I wonder exactly why it's going that way. Were there a bunch of soft tissue injuries going on with the Cubs last year?
No idea. But here's Jed talking about trying to prevent injuries, which again, to me goes to strength and conditioning, but here's Jed.
As much as you can. We have, real player tracking stuff now. I think you have different tests that you try to, use to determine fatigue. And so you try to use all those things. At some point, playing professional sports at a high level, there's going to be injury risk, but the more we can do ahead of time, whether it's through activation stuff, like I said, player tracking, tracking fatigue in terms of, strength and quickness. I think that's something, if we can get ahead of it and give a guy a day off or do something, I think that's a lot of the battle.
Have you been able to quantify results?
Well, it's a hard thing to, quantify because I think these things are relatively new and, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to have injuries. Like I said, no team is going to go, 162 without a soft tissue injury. So it is hard, but
there you go.
Like I said, I think we're working as hard as we can to bring those injuries down.
There'll never be a time where you say, boy, we prevented that issue here because
that's the challenge of preventative stuff, right? The absence of something happening is not something you usually talk about.
Now, one thing I'm very curious about is what kind of test was he talking about to measure fatigue? You know what I mean? How are you able to tell if a player is fatigued or needs a day off? We've talked about this with Dansby a bajillion times.
Sometimes you have to get in the way of a player, right? Sometimes the player wants to keep pushing, and you as the team have to be kind of pushing back and saying, we know, we get it. We appreciate the fact that you want to play, but we got to get you off your feet for a couple of days.
But my question is, what he was talking about, some sort of testing for fatigue. What is that? What is he using? What are they using? That would be my question.
Good follow-up question. Get it ready for CubsCon. Get it ready for CubsCon, Carl.
Boy, I got a list going. We're going to have to pare this thing down. He was not clear on Nico. We talked about him earlier, about his timeline. Here's on Nico.
If you go back now and watch, I think, we knew about it. I think you can see some double play turns. He probably didn't have as much on the throw as he wanted. You can see him kind of running balls over and kind of short-arming some balls. So, I think it's a credit to his toughness that he was able just to play through it and play really well. But yeah, I think you could see it on some plays where he didn't have quite as much on the throw, and it made sense right after the season to get it checked out.
So, we talked about it the other day when we talked about the Gold Gloves. I wasn't upset that Nico didn't get nominated just because you could see he wasn't 100%. The throws weren't there. He wasn't making some of those plays. Had to do with the injury. And so the hope is that Nico can come back and be ready for spring and come back and get back in that Gold Glove conversation.
Listen, I hope so too, but I think it also, I don't think, we talked about him a lot. I'm not saying I wanted to see him leave, but I don't think he's movable now.
No, I don't think so either.
If you were selling Nico, you'd be selling him at his lowest value back to you since you got him up here.
Right. It throws off. I think it throws off what plans they might have had. And so, it's not the work. I mean, it's not like Nico's a bad player. It's just that was something that they were talking about. Justin Steele, they were talking. Jed's talking a little bit here about his elbow issue.
Justin, it's 2 years that he's had the forearm elbow issue. Have you guys learned anything, or is he doing anything differently maybe this offseason to try and combat that or curtail that, or is there anything you can do?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll continue to look for answers with that as something is cropped up a couple years in a row. I think he's had 2 great years in a row, but that's something that's bugged him, and we'll work hard this winter to see if we can solve that problem.
Yeah, Justin's had some forearms, a little bit of elbow fatigue, stuff like that. So is there anything that they can do? Because he pitches really well, but if you're going to be an ace, if you're going to be a horse, you need to make all those starts. You can't be gone for periods of time. Ben Brown, obviously Ben Brown is someone that we've had on the podcast. Great kid. I absolutely love him to death. That neck injury was really bizarre, and I never felt like we really got a good explanation of what exactly it was. I don't know if the Cubs know. So here's Jed on Ben Brown.
Theoretically, all pitchers kind of ramp from zero when they start their work anyway, right? Like maybe it's to start a touch earlier, but I think in general that guys start, like when you think about a guy ramping up, you're almost assuming, okay, he's starting and going all the way up. So I don't see any reason that he would have unless he has a setback, but he doesn't have a setback, he's not going to be delayed.
Would you really call that an injury, though, that what he had?
He would.
What do you guys call it?
I mean, he had real discomfort. I mean, he was pitching well with it, but he was having real discomfort. And I mean, the challenge was in the diagnosis, it looked like a stress reaction on the MRI, and then it ended up not being quite that. But it doesn't really matter. The point is he was having real discomfort with that injury, and it was affecting sort of daily living. So I think it's not a stereotypical injury we talk about, but certainly he was injured.
The next scan, you're just expecting it to be fully dissipated.
Yeah, exactly.
So from what we've heard, he's going to be ready to start pitching maybe end of November, early December, which is normally when you kind of start ramping up for spring training. But again, there's still nothing that tells us it was X. Is there something in his delivery that's causing it? What is it? Because nobody doubts that Ben Brown has some nasty stuff, and whether that's as a starter or a reliever, we don't know. It's just, what is that? It's kind of funky,
Right. Well, speaking of that, wasn't there a cut from Jed about another, failed starter, failed reliever about Hayden Wisniewski and not really giving him and putting him in a great position to succeed?
Yeah, he did. He did talk a little bit about that, but I think more of the issue was that idea of, he was in the role of the swingman, and sometimes that takes a little bit of getting used to. Our guest this week, Dennis Lamp, former Cub and White Sox, it was Tony La Russa that made him a swingman. Sean Marshall, another example of a guy that was able to do it. Glendon Rush. So those are guys that were able to kind of do that. It's not easy, but obviously if Hayden wants the job, he's going to have to show that he can do it and do it well. But, he hasn't been a consistently strong starter. And so that's why he had a little bit more value as that swingman. One more guy that we were really hoping to see in Chicago last season, and we didn't, Cade Horton from Oklahoma.
He was shut down in August or something like that, but that was because there wasn't that much.
Yeah, we saw no reason to push at that point. It's this is shut him down and get ready for next year. But he would have gotten back right at the end, and there wasn't really any reason to do that.
So, hopefully Cade Horton, we see him make his debut in Chicago 2025. I like the fact they took it easy with him and didn't try to rush him to get back for some sort of miracle run. I think we're good here. The final set of clips we got here is really talking more about the offseason plans. We know who's going to be on the team. We talked about injuries. What are the Cubs going to do as far as offseason?
There'll be a lot of conversations. I expect it to be active in terms of teams talking, talking early on, and the free agent market always develops later. I think you talk to agents here, but you expect that this is going to take some time. So I think, like I said before, I think it adds clarity to what we need to do, and now it's just a matter of gathering the information. I think I always say everyone comes here with a lot of great ideas, and they usually get squashed within the first cocktail party, and then you go back to the drawing board. But we'll talk to everyone here. We'll be super active in discussions and see where it leads us.
Super active, Dustin.
Okay. I listen, I think you've said it. I think we've all heard it. show me, don't tell me, right? Show me, don't tell me. Is that where we're at right now? Show me, don't tell me.
Actions speak louder than words. And so the one thing that everyone, with now Cody Bellinger here, the focus on getting another arm. The Cubs pitching was phenomenal. And so if you can add another top-line starter to Shota Imanaga, Justin Steele, Jameson Taillon, if he's your number 4, Jameson Taillon with the year that he had last year, and then, you have so many options with a 5th starter, then you can use a lot of the younger guys to be more in middle or late relief, whether it's Ben Brown, whether it's Hayden Wisniewski, whether it's Javier Assad. So here's Jed on if they'll get a big arm.
Is there any chance you will go big game fishing for like a number 1 starter to move everybody sort of down a notch? If Steele's a 2 and Imanaga's a 3, then you really are deeper. I mean, is that something you would tell us? I wouldn't speculate on that. Is that a good idea? Who doesn't want a number 1, right?
I'm on camera.
All right, big game. Having some cocktails and a good time. But Dustin, we all know right now what a lot of people are thinking. Corbin Burnes, free agent. Corbin Burnes pitched for Craig Counsell. So obviously, and Corbin Burnes is represented by
Scott Boras. I mean,
here's Scott
who's not represented by Scott Boras?
Here's Scott Boras on that possibility.
How would with Corbin Burnes, would it be a soft landing for him to be able to go to the Cubs and have his relationship with Counsell, again, confirmed and helpful as he moves on in his career?
Well, Corbin is, you have to go back in time to think about the consistency of the 180 innings of either winning the Cy or having Cy voting. Essentially he is, he's continues to be a Corbin copy of his previous seasons, no doubt. So he's very, very rare in what he does. He's the foundation of having a number 1 in the postseason, the only guy to go 8 innings, pitched in the AL East, did it highly effective. So these are really talents that do not exist. We really haven't had anybody on the market like him since Garrett Cole.
You think a good landing for him would be the Cubs?
Well, I would let teams determine that for not me.
A Corbin copy. How much time does this guy spend working on these puns? Corbin Burnes on this team would really be interesting, and I would put him in between Steele and Imanaga, right? Break it up a little bit. But boy, oh boy, that really, really is tempting to look at when you think about it.
It's very attractive, but how much is it going to cost?
Again, I keep hearing about, who's in the market for Juan Soto, right? It's the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets. Why don't they have those same questions? How much is it going to cost? They don't care, Dustin. They want to win. You want to win.
I'm asking. I'm asking
right.
How much. That's right.
Does it again when you have an ace and so who is the comp? You heard the comp that Boras used, right?
I did.
He's Garrett Cole. He said there hasn't been a pitcher out here that does what he does since Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole has a very, very, very large contract. Tried to opt out of it, but opted back in it. But that was, you're talking big money. It's going to cost you if you want Corbin Burnes. It's not going to come cheap. Again,
no, it won't be cheap. It won't be cheap.
If you want to go bargain bin shopping and get yourself a generic Nathan Eovaldi or whatever you want to get, that's fine. But if you want to go big game hunting is what was brought up earlier. That's it. Now, this is a question from a Japanese reporter to Jed.
Because of the success from the Japanese market, because of the success from the Japanese market, you are more attractive ever before this year?
Yeah, I think we've worked really hard to, I would say, do a good job with the assimilation process for Japanese players. I think, Seiya has done a really good job, and I think, kind of quietly, he was top 20 in OPS in baseball this year, and Shota had a great year. So, yeah, I would expect that, in the Japanese market, I think the Cubs in Chicago are really appealing.
All right. The reason this is important, Dustin, is because the Shiba Lotte Mariners are going to make a decision soon on whether or not to post Roki Sasaki to MLB free agency. Okay. This is a kid. He turned 23 last week. He's only played 4 seasons in the NPB, Nippon Professional Baseball. So there's some things that have to, happen. He's younger than 25, so he's subject to international bonus pool restrictions. But if he is posted, he would have a 45-day window to negotiate with MLB teams. You saw the impact Shota had on the Cubs last year. Seiya has had some good seasons. Yu Darvish came through here going back to 2008, Fukudome. So you have a lot of Japanese players that came here. They're opening up in Japan against another team that's attractive to Japanese free agents in the Dodgers. But, interesting to see if the Cubs kind of, how everyone always assumes that the White Sox are going to get every Cuban player. Is it possible that the Cubs are becoming a more and more attractive landing destination for Japanese ball players?
I think so, right? I think it's here. I think it's LA, and I think it's New York. I think those are the 3. And I guess we're lucky that we're the non-coastal destination that they seem happy with. And I guess I'm assuming that the right fielder DH is talking things up pretty well for us.
Yep. And here is Jed right now on the bullpen that we've talked about, especially a lefty.
Obviously, when we traded one of our lefties in Leiter, it felt like that was we weren't optimizing for individual matchups as much as we would have been, and you could feel it in the second half. We oftentimes didn't have the best matchup for a lefty, especially as you said, Luke went out. So that is something that we'll be actively looking for this offseason.
All right. Let's get that going. Now, this one, Dustin, is the one of the clips that really perked my ear, and I'll tell our listeners why after we play it.
When I look at where we are for next year, I think that when we have multiple corner outfielders that if someone goes down, they can step in. Infielders, and it is really nice to have that kind of depth. And I think when you talk about farm systems, a lot of times if they're talking about guys in high A, low A, it's great to have that pipeline, but you're talking about, they're not like non-usable pieces in the big leagues. And I think that our guys are rapidly becoming like usable major league depth. And frankly, most of it's off the 40-man, which I think helps us as well. That we have that depth. We don't have it on the 40 to start the year. So I do think in that regard, I think we're in a pretty enviable spot.
So he's saying that the minor leaguers are MLB ready. This is from John Morosi. He said, Owen Casey is a popular name in early stage trade buzz in the GM meetings. The 22-year-old Cubs prospect is coming off an impressive AAA season, 848 OPS, but does not have a clear path to everyday at-bats in a crowded MLB outfield. So again, we've talked about it with Ian Happ, with Cody Bellinger, PCA, and Seiya Suzuki plus a 4th outfielder. There's nowhere that you can really put Owen Casey. This kid, though, is a stud. I mean, he may be somebody, and the Mariners keep popping up as a team that may be interested in some deals with the Cubs, but boy, I'm really nervous about, the possibility of losing Owen Casey in a trade. I know that's why you have them. They're trade chips. You use them to enhance your team, but boy, oh boy, man.
They're not going to trade him, then get him up here already, right? Another 90 at-bats, 100 at-bats in the minor leagues, Crawly seems like a waste of time for everybody.
And unfortunately, there's nowhere he can play right now.
He could be your 4th outfielder. He could be your matchup DH guy.
Maybe I don't know how much. Like I said, I like the guys to play every day. These guys are used to playing every day. It's really, really hard to all of a sudden just kind of go from that to being an every other day kind of player. One last clip that I have here, and I think it's interesting, is what Jed had to say about his expectation for the free agent market.
I think everyone is sort of talking about it and wondering about the extent to which it could have an impact. I don't think we know yet. These markets sort of play out over, sadly, 3 or 4 months now, and not a month. And so I think we'll have a better feel if we're answering that question sitting on a bench in Mesa. I think we'll have a better feel for what happened. But it's certainly on people's mind. People are looking at it, and I think we'll find out.
Now, just recent, I don't know if you remember last season was just nuts. You know, you have these weird ebbs and flows in how the offseason plays out. Last season, remember the Boris Five, Blake Snell, Cody Bellinger, Jordan Montgomery, Matt Chapman, and JD Martinez. They didn't sign until spring training was underway. Everything was so late developing. Now, if you listen to the Baseball Tonight podcast with Jeff Passan and Buster Olney, they were predicting a lot of action this offseason, especially in the winter meetings. Now, Dustin, you and I, we covered the winter meetings for the Fly the W podcast, and oh my God, was it boring. So hopefully there will be actual moves made at the winter meetings this year, right?
Yeah, it was boring. You're right about that.
Well, we'll see what happens, but hopefully the Cubs will be right in the middle. But for me, Dustin, I want Jed Hoyer and the Cubs to jump the market, man. Get started. If you know what you want, and we don't need much, go after it. Don't sit there waiting on your hands. Be aggressive.
This is Season 3, Episode 90 of the Fly the W670 podcast. Jed Hoyer at the GM meetings, Part 2. Don't forget to leave us one of those 5-star reviews. And in this segment, Crawly's talking to Kevin Schwartz from Schwartz Sports about the upcoming Chicago Sports Spectacular held the weekend of November the 22nd to the 24th out in Rosemont at the Convention Center that will feature 11 current or former Cubs, including 3 members of the 2016 World Series team.
Joining me now on the Fly the W podcast, you know what time it is when Kevin Schwartz is on. It's time for the Chicago Sports Spectacular. Kevin, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. We're excited about our show, November 22nd through the 24th at Rosemont Convention Center. So we're just getting prepared for it and ready for it to take place.
You and me both getting prepared. I'm getting everything all ready, set up, getting the days, the times all planned out. And so, you know, here's what I love about the November show, because you guys do a show in November and you do one in March and sometimes you do one in the summer. But like the November one, it's always just so baseball centric because, you know, they're not at spring training. You know, they're not, you know, some of these guys coach out at the different spring training sites. Like this is a time where you can really get some good baseball players. And so if you're a Cub nut like me, the November show to me is always the best.
Oh, we're always excited about for baseball for November. It's great because, like you said, the guys aren't busy that time of the year. You know, when we come to the March show, a lot of them deal with spring training issues. They work with the teams or they make appearances at like the fantasy camps. For November, they're available. They're ready to come out. They want to meet the fans. They're excited. They want to, you know, give everyone a holiday gift, and it's great.
And what I love about it too is, you know, just for it's, you know, it makes for such a good Cub centric show. But even if you're not a Cub fan, I mean, you guys keep, to me, it's like I keep seeing it. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And this one is no exception. Like you said, it's going to be November 22nd to November 24th. And, you know, if you're a VIP, you get in at 1. If you're general admission, 3:30. And then Saturday, 9:30 to 5, VIP get in at 9. And then Sunday, 10 to 4, VIP get in at 9:30. And so, you know, if you go to the chicagosportspectacular.com, you can see all the information on your homepage about the tickets. But let's get down to what everybody's excited about. Let's get down to the guests here. Ready? Now, we're going to go through the Cubs guests. But before I do that, you know, on each day, I'll kind of, you know, there are some cool guys that are not Cubs centric. That maybe, you know, people that like Cub fans, like I'm not a big Bears collectible, but I know you guys have a lot of Bears coming out too this year.
Yeah, we do. We have, you know, Urlacher and Hester, Mike Singletary, Dan Hampton, Covert. We bring a lot of the Hall of Fame Bears players, and then we have a bunch of the current players coming out on Friday. But
yeah, I'm looking at Friday right now. So you got Mike Singletary. He's going to be there Friday, Saturday. Rome Odunze, the rookie sensation for the Bears, Montez Sweat, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, Tyreek Stevenson, Shaquan Brisker. I mean, boy, it just seems like almost like the whole starting lineup, right?
We want to bring as much Chicago flavor to our show always. We're local. That's local. You know, the local fans love the Chicago teams, whether it's Bulls, Bears, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks. So, yeah, you know, when the Bears players became available, we jumped on it. We brought them in, and, you know, we always love having them available, just like we love having the Cubs guys.
Now, here's what I like about going on Friday. I like to get there first just to kind of scout everything out. You know, there's so many cool vendors when you walk into the Chicago Sports Spectacular. For those of you on the 670 The Score YouTube page, there's me in front of the Chicago Sports Spectacular sign. And I just love just kind of walking around, seeing what's there. And like, this is a picture of a Mike Tyson's Punch Out with Little Mac and every single one of the characters signed by Mike Tyson. I mean, that's such an awesome piece for like people my age.
You know, we think we have some of the best vendors and dealers in the country that attend our show and set up every year. And they have some of the greatest and coolest stuff. Whether you're looking for cards or autographs or framing cases, our vendors do it all. And we're so proud to have that selection available for the fans on the floor. You can find anything you want. And also, if you have stuff you want to get authenticated or graded, we have like JSA, PSA, Beckett there too. We're so proud to have that collection of vendors and dealers come out to the show and be able to give everyone, a search through of what they're looking for, whether it's cards or autographs or just random collectibles, whether it's pennants or whatever. It's all on that floor.
Yeah, I picked up a few shows ago. I picked up a Phantom World Series Championship 1945 banner. So I mean, like I don't even know where I would find something like that, like out in the wild, man. That was just such a great pickup, and I have it framed. It looks beautiful. But on Friday night, Bill Mad Dog Madlock, third baseman. That was, people always talk about, Brock Broglio being such a horrible move for the Cubs, but getting rid of Bill Madlock, oh, that was a mistake and a half. That was bad. And he is so nice to talk to. He's such a cool guy. I love Bill Madlock.
The league average was like 242 this year in MLB. This is a guy who batted over 300 so many times. He won so many batting titles. Like, he's a legitimate player. You have to be excited to meet someone like that and to talk stories with him. It's great. And Mad Dog's one of the great guests that we have all the time.
Yeah, and then the big one on Friday, at least for me, and I'm sure other Cub fans as well. How about Wilson Contreras? This is the first time I remember him being back since he went to St. Louis. And I got to tell you, Kevin, thank God you're getting him, because I'm not lying. The Cardinals have their Fan Fest the Monday after Cubs convention. I was going to go to the St. Louis Fan Fest to get something signed. So you just saved me a trip to the armpit capital of America.
Yeah, we don't want any Cubs fans going to St. Louis. That's always our goal. But we're very excited that we have 2016 Cubs throughout the whole weekend. We have Wilson on Friday. We have our big one. Chris Bryant will be there on Saturday. Everyone's really excited about him. And then we have Zobrist on Sunday, along with all the Cubs Hall of Famers that you can imagine. We got Dawson, Dunston, Sandberg on Saturday. The 1980s guys. Dunston hasn't been to our show in about 15 years. Woo. Billy Williams, he's the legend. He's the senior statesman for the team at this point. We're just really excited about our lineup, especially for the Cubs. Like, we thought we brought all of them out. We did a great job doing it. And, we're so excited, especially Sandberg. This is his first big Chicago appearance since all the health stuff. And we're so excited to have him there. We know he loves coming out and seeing the fans.
Yeah, and so when you talk about Saturday, I mean, some other non-Cubs, Manny Ramirez, Manrod. He played for the Iowa Cubs a little bit, but at the end of his career, Cal Ripken, the Iron Man. I love seeing guys like that. You got Sting, for those people that are big wrestling fans, Henry Winkler, Dennis Rodman, Urlacher and Briggs and Singletary, Jimbo Covert. I mean, great ones. And for Cub fans, this is the first time I've seen him signing Cam Smith, the Cubs 2024 first-round pick.
Yeah, so this will be Cam Smith, Cubs 2024 first-round pick. It'll be a first public signing. We've got a lot of calls and emails about him. I know people are really excited about him. You don't see a lot of the first-round picks being able to come to shows like this. They're kind of in winter ball or doing their own thing. Luckily, we were able to bring him into this one. So we're excited to have him there and get all the Cubs fans to meet him before he explodes, because he's got big projections on him. I know.
Yeah, and that's the thing sometimes is you can get these guys, their prices, obviously, if all of a sudden he becomes like, a rookie of the year, an MVP, now all of a sudden they can charge more. Right now is the time to get these guys when they're not as big a name yet,
Yeah, and I think that's part of the thing about being a fan of any team is like, hey, this is our future, right? We're looking at him like, like for the Bears, we have Roma Dunze, like he's supposed to be the future wide receiver of that team. Cam Smith is supposed to be the future of the Cubs. He's supposed to be the next big star we have. We put a first round pick into him. We're all really excited that he's there. And, we expect big things from him in the future. And you get him now, you get to meet him, before, like you said, the price might go up in the future. But right now he's good. He's ready. And, I think he's a great guest to have.
Speaking of great guests, this one surprised me. Dansby Swanson. I can't remember him doing a public, much less, I barely see him to get privates done. So you guys got Dansby Swanson, shortstop for the Cubs. I can't believe he didn't get the three-peat on the Gold Glover. That's another conversation. But he is really, truly just a great guy. And I know, maybe next time have Dansby and Melanie. That would be a cool picture, huh?
Melanie would have been great to have. I know she's busy with her soccer stuff, but we're really excited. We always love having current Cubs and current players. That's our goal, to have as many current guys as possible. And Dansby's, he's the top of that list right now for the Cubs. He's going to be here for several more years. We're all really excited about what he's done so far for the team, and we'll see what he does going forward. But I know the fans, are excited. We've got a lot of calls on him. He's a good one. We're very excited.
Speaking of a good one, I don't know how you pulled this off. I think so. I always get the tickets right away when they go online. Boom, first thing in the morning. And then 1 week later, you drop this on me, Kevin. You drop this on me. Kris Bryant back in Chicago, first signing. Honestly, Kevin, I only remember him doing one, I'm not talking Cubs convention. He would sign at Cubs convention, but I only remember him doing one public signing in his time. I remember after the World Series, like 2017, him and Rizzo did one at a hotel, but that's the only time I can remember him. So to get Kris Bryant back in Chicago is just mind blowing.
Guys like Kris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, we reach out to them all the time. We're so fortunate and so happy that he actually accepted our offer this time. They get so busy in the off season, and for Kris to be there, it's great for us. It's great for the show. It's great for the fans. We're so excited. We've had so many great emails and calls about people being so excited to see Kris Bryant back in Chicago. We can't be ecstatic enough. He's the core of that 2016 Cubs team. And to have, any of those guys back is always exciting. We want to see as many world champion Cubs on that autograph pavilion as possible. So we're ecstatic to have him there. If you're looking for tickets for him, we're telling you to order early because a sellout is very probable for Kris Bryant.
Yeah. And so on Sunday, there's going to be a lot of great players, but non-Cubs, you got big game James Worthy's going to be there. You got different people like Blackhawks, like Eddie Belfour and Chris Chelios. But one thing I think that's a little bit different this time around that I have never seen, you guys are getting a reunion of a league of their own. So many stars from that just awesome baseball movie. There's no crying in baseball. One of the greatest lines of all time, but to me, not just one of the greatest baseball movies, but one of the greatest movies of all time. And to see all the different players coming is just unbelievable.
That one, that's been a couple of years in the works. We always love to bring anything that's kind of Cubs or Wrigley Field or Chicago related. Obviously, filmed part of the movie at Wrigley Field. We got 11 members of the Rockford Peaches coming back to the Rockford Peach reunion, including Gina Davis, Rosie O'Donnell, Lori Petty, and 8 others. We're very excited about that. Celebrity and sports are all kind of niched together, especially the sports movie aspect of it. I know when I asked my wife, that's her favorite sports movie of all time. And male or female, it's just a great movie and a great baseball story. And anyone who's a sports fan of movies, like, you gotta love that one. We're so excited to have 11 of them come out. We're also going to have the original Women of Baseball. They got a booth out front in the vendor area, fan area. They're going to be out there doing meet and greets and stuff like that. So we're really excited about this one. League of Their Own, like iconic movies like that. You have to smile when you get something like that done and bring it to the fans, because you don't see that every day. Even at the Comic Cons, you don't see that. So, the crossover between sports and Comic Cons is not that big. And, having Gina Davis, Rosie O'Donnell, Lori Petty, and League of Their Own, that we think that's awesome.
Yeah, that you got a big collection there. Now let's talk Cubs here. First off, you got Todd Hollandsworth, remember, outfielder for the Cubs, and he also worked for Comcast Sportsnet. Him and Kaplan used to do pre and post game. You have the World Series MVP, Chris Bryant. So that's 3 members of the World Series team coming out. You got Wilson on Friday, Chris Bryant on Saturday, Ben Zobrist on Sunday. So, I mean, Ben is just such a good guy, and he's got such a cool autograph. And every time I just love talking to him. Just phenomenal.
Yeah, and, we love the fact that if you're a Cubs fan, you come out Friday, Saturday, or Sunday and meet a 2016 World Series champion. And I'm a Cubs fan. I know that I waited so long for the World Series. I want to meet as many guys as I can, as many days as I can. That's the gift that keeps on giving for us fans, is being able to meet those players. So we think that's great. And then also, I know you're going to get to a second, but we have the 80 stars there too, and Dawson, Sandberg, and Dunston. And, anyone who's a little bit older, like that's your 1980s, early 90s. You can't get better than that for a Cubs fan.
Right. And the thing about Andre Dawson, the greatest autograph in all of sports, I will put his autograph up against anybody, and he's so nice to talk to. He's such a friendly man. He's just, he's got that fierce look, that hawk look and all, but he's so nice. And I've interviewed him before on the show, actually. And, he really takes pride in his penmanship, and I wish all players did, because his autograph and his inscriptions, top notch.
Absolutely. Andre has one of the classiest autographs you ever seen. Here's a guy who actually practiced penmanship growing up, you can tell.
Yeah, big deal to him.
Yeah, and he loves meeting the fans. I've known Andre a long time. He loves being out there, meeting the fans, talking to you about baseball and the Cubs today and everything. He's still involved, and it's great to get a Hall of Famer like that wants to interact with the fans the way he does.
And you mentioned earlier, Sean Dunston. He just has not been around that much. He came to a Club 400 event, I know, but this is the first show I can remember in a long time. And I got to meet and sit down and talk with Sean. And, he was always just a quiet player, more reserved. But he's such an interesting, introspective guy. I'm so excited he's coming to the show.
We're very excited to have Sean Dunston. He's a guy who, as you know, worked for different teams after his playing days, and it kept him really busy. So now that he's fully kind of retired from all of that, he's got time to make these appearances and come out and meet the fans again. And I know the fans are really excited to see our former first round pick come out and, meet them and get their autograph and everything. And, also we know how much fun the fans had in the 80s, whether we won or didn't win. So we also have a photo op with Sandberg, Dawson, and Dunston all together. So for any Cubs fan, that's just a great, great moment.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because that's one of my favorite things to do at Chicago Sports Spectacular is you can get a picture. Now, remember, you have to purchase this online, and what you can do is you can purchase not only a photo op, you can purchase a printout. And this is a funny story. One time I sat there and I got my picture with Ryan Sandberg. And I always get the photo op ticket and I print it out. I get the printout. And so this is a picture of me with Kerry Wood at the Chicago Sports Spectacular a little while back. And then I have him autograph it immediately at the show. And so Ryan Sandberg, I'm there and I go to get the photo with Rhino, and I sit there, I get the photo, we talk to him for a few minutes. They print it out. They give me the printout, and then I go into line to go get it signed. And he comes back. He looks. He goes, "Am I wearing the same shirt from a different time?" I'm like, "This is so embarrassing." I'm like, "No, they just printed it out." So he didn't even realize it that you guys were printing them out at the show. He thought he wore the same shirt he wore at the last spectacular. So we all had a good laugh at that one. But like you said, you can get a ticket, and to me, this is just amazing because. Sandberg was my guy growing up. That was the guy that made me love the Cubs and want to play baseball and try to emulate his swing. And when we got that news that he had cancer and it was stage 4, I mean, that was scary. That was extremely scary. And, this is his first signing since the diagnosis. And it's also the first signing since he had the statue. So very cool moment to welcome Rhino back to the Sports Spectacular.
Yeah. We've talked to Rhino and has got people for months about this, and we were kind of on pause for a little bit, but yeah, he's super excited to come out and see the fans again. He's doing great. I've been told his spirits are real high, and I hope all the fans come out and give him praise because that's what he's looking for. And I'm a Cubs fan too. Rhino's our guy. If he grew up in the 80s and 90s, there's no one else. It's Ryne Sandberg. He's a legend you grew up with, and I can't wait to get that hug from him when he walks into that center.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. And you mentioned this earlier. You are going to be having a special ticket package to get a photo op with Dawson, Dunston, and Sandberg. And for anyone that remembers, the last time Wrigley Field hosted a All-Star game was 1990, and those were the 3 Cubs participants in the All-Star game that year. And so you can get that photo op, or if I have an All-Star poster signed by all 3 of them, but would have been easy to get it all done in once instead of chasing them around like I had to do.
No, and when you think of the Cubs from the 1980s, the 3 names that come to your head are going to be Dunston, Dawson, and Sandberg. Those were the stars of the team. Those are the iconic names and figures, and those are the great players that we had. And we're so excited to be able to give every fan the opportunity to take a picture with all 3 of them. It's got to be a great moment for any Cubs fan to sit there between all 3 of them and take that photo that they've probably been waiting for years.
And not only that, like you said, elder statesman Billy Williams back at the Chicago Sports Spectacular, another guy with just a great autograph. But you are also going to have a package where you're going to have Cubs Hall of Famers Andre Dawson, Ryne Sandberg, and Billy Williams. So you can get that's like a Mount Rushmore of Cubs right there.
Yeah, it's something that we've been working on at the show, trying to kind of bring more photo op moments to people and the fans, to put 3 Cubs Hall of Famers together and have you take a picture with them. I mean, for any Cubs fan, that's got to be a great moment for you. And like you said, for $10, you get it printed out on the spot, go get it signed by all 3 guys. That's a collectible that, gives you stories forever.
And not only that, though, it's just, I love the pictures with them, those moments. And so, Kevin, I'm going to show you. Here's what I'm working on, and here's why I love you guys so much. This is my latest project because I'm an idiot and I always start projects. I got to be making you happy. This is from this photo right here is from the 2024 Cubs Hall of Fame. So if you remember, Kerry Wood and Aramis got in there, and I have this already signed by Kerry Wood already, but I'm going to get this signed by Sandberg, Dawson, and Billy Williams. So I can and Sean Dunston. So I'm knocking 4 out on this one single piece. It's a really cool photo.
That's a great picture.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that one. So a couple, tips for anybody that has never been to the Chicago Sports Spectacular, especially because there's Cubs every single day. I'm going to be going all 3 days. And so because of that, and because I'm doing a lot of photos and autographs, I'm getting the VIP. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, depending on the amount of Cubs that are there and how much movement I'm going to be doing. But like, if you just don't want to be like running around hectic. If you get the VIP, you get first in line privileges. And so that's one of the things I'm truly excited about. So I'm going to be getting the VIP. It allows me to get in early on the first day, on every day, but on Friday, that's always kind of like a big selling point. And then to be able to move around. So that's why I'm going to get the VIP, because it pays for all 3 days. You get a free autograph from somebody. It's kind of a mystery. There's a lot of perks to it, right?
Oh, the VIP is great, especially if you're coming all 3 days. It's $149. You get 2 autographs throughout the weekend. One's Mark Curie, the former Bears Rookie of the Year. The other is Todd Hollingsworth, the former Cub. You also get first-in-line privileges for autographs and photo ops. And then we have the VIP lounge now as well, which gives you a place to go kind of relax, sit down. There's some entertainment stuff in there for you as well. And as you know, being at the show for 3 days, you're going to want to take a seat here or there. But if you're looking for all these different Cubs, to get first in line privileges, we have a VIP entrance and everything. It really pays for itself just in time savings and everything. And then like Crawly said, you get 3 days admission, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You also get our sneak peek, which begins at 1 p.m. on Friday. So you beat the rush of the crowds out there, and you get to see what the vendors have before the other spectators get in there and start picking through the table. So it's a great package. I know we sell out of it every time. So I encourage, if you're coming all 3 days, that might be the way to go.
Yeah. And the other thing that's important to know is that if you've never been before, they will sign, but you have to have a ticket. So, you can't just bring 4 things and plop it on the table. Each item they sign is 1 ticket. If you have something you want inscribed, Hall of Fame, Rookie of the Year, All-Star Game, whatever, that's a separate inscription. So just kind of be aware of that. That's kind of something important, I think, that people need to know. And when you go to the website, they have the prices. Prices are different depending if it's a ball, if it's a 16x20, if it's a game used item, etc. Those are important. And we talked a little bit about the photo ops. You have to, you buy the photo op and then you can buy the print off. It's separate. Just because you got the photo op doesn't mean you're going to get the printed version. You have to pay for that.
Yeah, the photo op is actually a digital download to our website. So you can download that yourself. It's done on our phones. No cell phones or personal cameras are allowed in the photo op pavilion, but we do offer printouts right on the spot for $10. And I know a lot of fans love to print them out, take them in the autograph line, go get them signed. You do need a ticket for every autograph and inscription, as Crawly said. But our people will have them. Our autograph ticket window is available that day. And you can also get them online in advance, which is recommended at chicagosportspectacular.com.
And not only that, the reason, Kevin, I had you on this week is because we are 1 week away from being the window to purchase tickets online. So I think the 17th is the last day. Is that about right?
That sounds right. Yes.
So I believe the 17th is the last day that you can do it online. For me, I just like to get it all out of the way so that when I come, everything's in a nice little envelope. They go through for me and I'm all set and I'm all done. And I like buying them early. And that way, like you said, you don't get shut out because, a lot of people, I'm not the only one that wants a Chris Bryant, so that's going to be one you want to jump on the early advanced tickets and get them done. And that way it works better.
Yeah, the advanced ticket line also moves a lot faster. We're able to get through that a lot quicker than people buying tickets on the spot. And with Chris Bryant, the League of Their Own girls and everything, you avoid the sellouts that way. We do end up having random sellouts here and there. So we do recommend you go and buy them online in advance because we will turn them off if somebody sells out. Currently, we have no sellouts, but we do expect a couple before the show.
Well, Kevin, I appreciate you jumping on. And again, all the details are available at chicagosportspectacular.com. And for anyone listening to this, if you have questions, to hit me up at Crawly's Cubs on Twitter. I'm starting to be an old veteran at this thing. So if you have any questions, you can always ask me. The one thing I always tell people, just kind of have a general idea of what you want. Where do you want it signed? What kind of pen? Don't wait when you get up there because some people get starstruck or then they get kind of a little confused. Know exactly what you want, where you want it, what kind of pen. And again, I can help you with any questions that people may have about that. But just kind of being prepared when you go up there. And one other thing I would say, I made a lot of friends at this different sports spectacular because you see a lot of the same people kind of coming back, again and again. Talk to people, ask questions because that's how, again, when I first started getting autographs, I probably made some mistakes, like, Sharpie on a baseball, like things like that. It's like, talk to people, and people are really friendly and be like, hey, maybe use this pen, think about this color. And you don't have to do it, but it just gives you some ideas of what other people might do. I think it's a lot of fun, but it's just such a great community. And I'm so excited about this show, Kevin. I appreciate all that you guys do putting this together.
Well, we appreciate it. We do have trade night Saturday night, and that's for the fans. That's for the fans to trade their items to each other. Like you said, we have really good people that sit with the players. So if you're not sure what color pen to use or where to get something signed, please ask. They're trained, they're veterans. They know where to get stuff signed and what color. And we have plenty of pens there, but if you're looking for a specific pen, do bring that yourself. And most importantly, we're just excited for our show, November 22nd to the 24th. We always put on a really good event, we feel. And, from the Cubs standpoint, we feel like we have a really good lineup of Cubs, with Chris Bryant, Sean Dunston returning, Dansby Swanson, and even the League of Their Own that was filmed in Wrigley Field.
Thank you so much, Kevin, and we'll see you at the Rosemont Convention Center.
Thanks for having me.
This is the Fly the W670 podcast, season 3, episode 90. Jed Hoyer at the GM meetings, part 2. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. Also, don't forget you can watch us on the 670 The Score YouTube page. All right, Crawly, let's round the bases a little bit, where we'll give away a little Cubs news about Cubs current and some former players, and news from around the Major League Baseball diamond.
Yeah, this weekend was a big one for people that enjoy watching the prospects. It was the annual Fall Star Weekend. So like the All-Star Weekend for MLB, the Fall Star is an annual All-Star game in the Arizona Fall League. Originally, it was called the Rising Star Showcase, but now it's been known as the Fall Star Game since around 2013. But the cool thing about it is league staff, scouting and farm directors, and MLB.com writers select the players that they want to see at the Fall Star Game. And the Cubs had 2 players selected. Third baseman Jonathon Long, who's absolutely tearing it up in the desert, and same with Moises Ballesteros. Ballesteros was in it last year, and I want to say he was the MVP. No, he was Futures Game MVP. This is Arizona Fall League. But Ballesteros was also selected to participate in the Home Run Derby, which occurred on his 21st birthday on Saturday. So, if you're interested, my buddy Rich Biesterfeld, friend of the pod, he was out there taking a whole bunch of great pictures. He did okay. He finished kind of in the, a little bit lower down, but he's not like one of those guys that's going to be like the huge power number guys. He's going to hit his home runs, but he's just a guy that really makes a lot of loud contact. But Garrett Martin from New York finished first. He had an awesome round, followed by Brock Wilken. Kai Rosario from Minnesota, then Ja Caglione from Kansas City, and then Moises Ballesteros had 8. So as far as the game is concerned, the AL Fall Stars beat the NL Fall Stars 6-5. NL team got out to an early 1-0 lead thanks to Jonathon Long. He had a bases-loaded sac fly in the first inning. But the AL came back with a 5-run second. The NL scored 3 in the third. Again, Jonathon Long, with an RBI ground out. RBI ground out. And then what's going to end up happening is that in the 6th, Moises Ballesteros is going to tie it up with a sac fly. He caught 3 innings, but unfortunately for the NL Fall Stars, Tigers prospect Tyrone Lirizano, he hit a solo home run in the 9th to win it, and he was named the game's MVP. So congratulations to both Jonathon Long and Moises Ballesteros. What a great opportunity for those guys and to produce at that level, to have a couple of 2 RBIs for Long and 1 for Ballesteros. Really a good showing for the Cubs.
Absolutely, that's great. Hopefully we'll see those guys sooner than later up at Wrigley. All right, another tournament, Crawly, the Premier 12.
Yes, for me, I choose not to watch too much other than baseball, and that saves me from the misery of watching the Bears. But there is a tournament going on. It's the Premier 12. It's arguably the biggest, most important international baseball tournament behind the World Baseball Classic and the Olympics. Unlike the World Baseball Classic, though, players on Major League 40-man rosters are ineligible to play. So minor league players are able to play, and that's a lot of fun because you get to see, it's like how the Olympics used to be when it used to be all, guys that weren't professionals yet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So there are 4 top 100 prospects on Team USA's lineup, including Matt Shaw. And so the tournament started on November 9th, which was on Saturday, and features the top 12 nations in the WSBC Men's Baseball World Ranking. The U.S. is ranked 3rd out of all the teams in this competition, and it's what's going to end up happening. They're in Group A, so it's group play, similar to the World Baseball Classic, and they're playing their games in Tepic, Mexico right now. But the top 2 teams from each group advanced to the super round at the Tokyo Dome in Tokyo, Japan. So that takes place the 21st to the 23rd, with the medal games scheduled for November 24th. So, just if you're like me and you need some more baseball in your life, it's something really cool that they're doing and trying to grow the game internationally. The U.S. lost their first game that they played on Saturday to Puerto Rico on losing 1-0, but they pounded the Netherlands 12-2. And Dustin, Matt Shaw just went off. He finished the day 4 for 5, which included a bases clearing double, a 3-run homer. Nice. So 7 RBIs. He also scored 3 runs in the win. Dustin, do you know the last American player in international ball that had 7 RBIs?
No doubt. I have no thought. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start guessing.
Ken Griffey Jr.
Jeez.
So that's some good company to be in, right? So as far as
the way, I'm all for it.
As far as Shaw is concerned, he's batting .875, 7 for 8 through 2 games. And so he has the most hits, the most RBIs in the tournament. And he's also one of 3 players with multiple stolen bases. So we want to kind of keep an eye on Matt Shaw and see how he does against other players. When you take a look at Puerto Rico, when you take a look at Japan, Venezuela, you saw in the World Baseball Classic, these other teams are getting really, really good. So it's just good for Matt to get that exposure against really good players from other countries.
All right, Crawly, that's pretty interesting. How about Kyle Hendricks speaking to the Marquee Sports Network about parting from the Cubs and going over to the Angels of Anaheim?
Yeah, it's just I always tell people, sometimes these players have like an on and off switch, like when they're in front of the cameras versus when they're behind closed doors. I'm just going to tell you about Kyle Hendricks. He's probably one of the most honest, thoughtful, nicest guys out there. He did talk to Marquee about what it was like playing for the Cubs. Dustin, listen to what he had to say.
Look, I'm so grateful and so lucky to have what I had in Chicago. 11 seasons, 10 and a half years there. I could have never imagined it. And so, of course, I would have loved the opportunity in Chicago, but I'm so excited for where that organization is at. They're set up so good with young pitchers, and it just made sense for both sides to move on. And like we said, it's just a cool opportunity for me to get to go back home now.
I mean, just
going home, moving on. I get it. It's good for everybody. I think his, time here had run its course. It's sad, but sometimes you have to, let go of the memories and just go chase those guys at autograph shows, Crawly, right? You don't want to necessarily out there with the ball in their hand at Wrigley Field.
I think that he's going to really do great things for Anaheim. And what I liked about it, though, is he doesn't, there's no bitterness. There's no negative. He saw it for what it was, right? He talked about the young talent that the Cubs have, and you just don't want to block these guys. You want them to have the opportunity to be able to pitch. We know that Jed talked about getting a starter. There just isn't a lot of room for Kyle anymore. But like I said, some guys get bitter. They're a little bit negative, or they feel like it's an insult. Remember, Anthony Rizzo wasn't happy with the contract offer that the Cubs gave him. That's why he got traded in 2021. But there was none of that from Kyle. And so I just, to sit there and compliment the team and compliment the young players, and I think that just really says a lot about Kyle's character. And then he talked about the possibility of returning in the future.
Absolutely, right? Mm-hmm.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. Of course, I love playing. That's my number one passion. But I love baseball in general. I think you guys have gotten to know me well enough that you know that by now. And that's a whole nother part of this, a whole nother side to the story is I'm so thankful for that as well. Just everybody with the Cubs that has come to me and just pretty much made it an open door policy. Your family, you're always welcome back, whatever you want to be involved in and want to be a part of. So it's just so nice and relieving to know I have that waiting in the future if it is a possibility. And yeah, Chicago will always be so special in my heart. It's family. They made my family feel so safe and so secure, and just had so many good memories created there that we'll always have that connection. So
really, like I said, we talked about Jed mentioning it. Now we hear from Kyle. I really foresee Kyle coming back at some kind of role in the future with the Chicago Cubs, be it front office, being pitching coach, or even maybe just being an ambassador. But Kyle Hendricks is a guy that you want coming out to spring training, like Sutcliffe, like Fergie. Those guys come out there. They talk to Tommy Hotovy. They watch their bullpen sessions. They offer advice when it's asked for. It's a guy that you want to kind of keep in the fold. And so I'm really glad to hear Kyle say what he had to say.
Amen. Couldn't agree with you more, Crawly. What he said was very good. Love hearing that. And again, he'll always be remembered as just a fantastic Cub with a great head on his shoulders. All right, so we got some mixed reports here. So, Cubs in, out, Juan Soto, Corbin Burnes. So the Athletic drops a article, Sharma and Mooney writing that the Cubs are out. But then over the weekend, I thought I read from Bob Nightingale that the Cubs could be all in on Corbin Burnes. So, a lot of smoke screens out there. I don't think Juan Soto's a possibility, but I don't think Corbin Burnes out of it just yet.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you, and not to, I love Bob Nightingale. We've had him on this show plenty of times. But when it comes to, having the pulse of the team, there's nothing like the beat writers that are there day in, day out, right? And sometimes when you know more than anything, Dustin, the agents will feed guys stuff to put out there to drive up the market, drive up the cost, drive up the price.
Right.
I don't know if that's it, but when you take a look at what Mooney and Sharma both have been on the podcast before talked about, I guess the quote that really got me is it says here, quote, any talk about the hot seat, though, has to acknowledge that Cubs president of baseball operations, Jed Hoyer, and general manager Carter Hawkins have consistently followed the long-term plan authorized by the Ricketts family and worked within ownership's budgetary parameters, trying to deliver sustained success instead of a one-year fluke. The Cubs do not intend to deviate from this course, multiple sources told The Athletic, ruling out a pursuit of Juan Soto or Corbin Burnes even before all the baseball executive and agents checked out of the Marriott. So, Dustin,
I don't love it. I mean, I'm not going to disagree, but I don't love what they wrote.
Right, and here's the thing: have you seen the Cubs make any big signings? Really big signings, the big splash. Even last year when we talked about Tani, how quick were they out of that? They were out of that, fairly quickly, I think. I mean, there was occasionally like, oh, and maybe the Cubs, but not really. They were never really in it. When's the last time, Dustin, whether you talk about Machado, whether you talk about Harper, whether you go down the list of the best of the best, but also the highest ticket price, when have the Cubs been involved in that last?
No, it's been a while, right? I mean, you don't count Seiya Suzuki. He doesn't fall into that. I mean, the shortstop when they were battling, everybody knew that the Cubs wanted to get a shortstop. They signed the fourth guy, at least on paper, right? Dansby Swanson was everybody's fourth guy, and did Dansby Swanson make the fourth? Right, he was the cheapest of the four as well.
Cheapest of the four, yeah.
Right. So no, they're not doing that. I'm giving them. This offseason, again, we've talked about it on the podcast. We will continue to talk about it. Show me, don't tell me.
Right.
It's far from over, right? I mean, nothing's really happened yet. So show me, don't tell me. So I am still in the show me, don't tell me situation. But I think they are out on Soto, but I think maybe they're in on Burnes.
I'm you know what? I'm going to say prove it. Like I said, prove it right now, and I'm tired of getting my hopes on. Right now, I believe what they have to say. I believe they're not going to spend big money for an ace pitcher. I believe that they're not going to do that. I don't think that we will see any big splash from the Cubs. Now, do I think that they may get a Max Fried or something? Yeah, I do think they will be in for that. But they're not. Again, the last time I remember them doing anything really would be Jason Hayward. And is that what scares them away? Is that what scared Ricketts? Is that what scares Jed Hoyer? I think it was Theo that was more willing to put the cash down. And now that he's gone, I think that Ricketts the Ricketts family doesn't want to spend those big contracts. And I don't know if Jed has the stomach for it either.
All right, Crawly, that's a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Follow on the socials, Facebook, Instagram. Hey, why don't you email Crawly and I about what we were just talking about as far as these big ticket items with the Cubs. And don't forget, you can watch us by subscribing to the 670 The Score YouTube channel. Crawly, enjoy the week, and we will get together soon enough.
Sounds good. And please, all I want is for this team and Jed Hoyer to prove me wrong. Go big. Go Cubs. Hey guys, it's Crawly. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. If you want to see more of our videos, be sure to check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date with our latest episodes. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Go Cubs!